Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. My name is Stephanie.
And I'm Travis.
And this is the podcast where we prove that the honeymoon stage never has to end.
Never, ever, 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 ever.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you see we have two beautiful, gorgeous ladies joining us today.
Very sexy, I might add.
This is our Mother's Day special. So welcome to the show, my mother, Elizabeth.
And my mother, Simone.
Welcome.
Hello. Hello.
Are y'all nervous?
No, not really. No.
I could barely see my mom's eyes. She's smiling so hard. She's like,
So that's where you got your eyes from?
yeah, it's like, you know.
Yes.
Got a little of my mother's sauce. So how y'all doing today?
I'm doing great.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
We're recording
Likewise.
this on Mother's Day, so
Yes.
yeah.
So how was your week?
Worked very hard, just relaxed a little bit for the weekend, and now I'm enjoying my Mother's Day with you two, with the both of you.
This is a very unique Mother's Day.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Both of our mothers are workaholics.
Yes. And coincidentally, my mother also just moved to New Jersey, just like Travis and I. We didn't plan it. It just worked out that way.
Yes, it just happened.
So we had crazy weeks, right?
So y'all both lost your year. No more.
No more BX year.
Now we're Jersey girls.
Not me. I'm from the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. Well, today is going to be all about motherhood because it's Mother's Day, and that's why we wanted y'all to join us. So something we like to do is kind of talk about our week and what's been going on. And something that has happened and has rocked our world is the leak that happened from the Supreme Court. So there's a possibility that Roe versus Wade will be overturned, which means the federal protection for safe and legal abortions won't be there anymore. So do you have any thoughts on that and what that means to you as a woman and what that means to women in general if, they're no longer protected by the federal government to have legal abortions?
I just feel like we're going back into the dark ages. If they overturn the law, I believe it's the right of a woman to make a decision, and that decision is to be respected. People who are on the opposite side of saying that a woman should not be able to terminate a pregnancy is because they don't understand the emotional roller coaster that you go through in making that decision. It's not an easy decision, and I believe that if they overturn this law, we're going to see a lot more women dying from backdoor terminations.
Exactly.
A lot more abandoned infants, a lot more suicides. It's just not the physical aspect of this ruling getting overturned. It's also the emotional and the mental, that you go through as a woman, having to be forced to do something that you're saying you're not ready to do.
Absolutely. Any thoughts, Mom?
I feel it's your body. It should be your choice. People go through traumas and have an unexpected pregnancy that they don't want to have. It should be their choice whether they want to keep it or not.
What do you say to people that say, well, the quote unquote baby has a choice, should have a choice, or have a right to live? What do you say to those people?
It has fingernails.
Yeah, that's what they say.
It doesn't have no fingernails. Now, if you're waiting to terminate 6 months, that's different. But something that you just found out, I'm a week pregnant or I'm 2 weeks pregnant, I can't handle the situation. It should be your choice.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I've been struggling with mentally with this is that I've noticed a lot of women who, let's say, were pro-choice, right? But now that they're mothers, they're not pro-choice anymore because they say they look at their child and say, I'm so happy this baby's here, so I don't think anybody should ever have abortions. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? On like flip-flopping because of that?
Well, I believe that they have that right as well to change their mind.
To have their own opinion.
Yeah, they have that right. But you have women like myself, and I do believe in pro-choice. I love my 3 boys. I couldn't see myself without my 3 boys. I love my grandchildren. But, you know, you need to have that choice, regardless of whether now you have a child or you don't have a child. It's still a choice.
Yeah, I believe like you could change your mind for you personally.
Correct.
You don't have to agree with it.
No.
You don't have to ever want to have one yourself.
Correct.
But at the same time, you don't have to feel that other women aren't entitled to their own choices. Travis, I wanted to get your opinion as a man because
You see, I'm staying pretty quiet.
I
right?
know, and as you should, because it's a women's issue. But what, in terms of what you've heard from other men, what take is there, like in terms of the man's role in this?
I'd be pretty surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, I feel like I surround myself with a good group of guys that we're all in agreement that women should be able to do what they want with their body. And the moment we decide to have sex with a woman, we kind of give up what happens next. Like if even a one night stand, we've spoken about this. You run the risk that no matter how safe you are, you could potentially get this person pregnant, and then you're giving them the rights to do what they want to do. So, you know, this whole I got trapped thing, I don't think it's a thing because it's her body.
Yeah. It's kind of like no matter what, you're taking a risk, and it's not your choice what happens because we have to carry the baby for 9 months. It's our body. And it's not only 9 months. There's also the whole process of pregnancy and labor has lasting effects for like the rest of your life. And only the person whose body it is should have the ability to make that choice.
That choice.
Correct.
And the other thing is that it was an interesting topic was rich women will always be able to get abortions no matter what, even if they're illegal or not, because they have the money to pay any doctor, to travel to a different country, to do whatever.
So this affects the poor and disenfranchised more than anyone.
More than anybody. It's going to affect women who can't leave their town to go do this. Or they might try to do, like Mom mentioned, the backdoor ones in somebody's
Try stuff
basement
themselves, and you know we don't know the outcome of that.
Absolutely. All right. So do you have a did you know? I just didn't think we should continue this conversation without, touching on what's going on in our country,
Did you know? Did you know mommy brain is real and very complex? Roughly 50 to 80% of moms report what's sometimes called mommy brain, the brain fog and mental bloopers associated with pregnancy and new motherhood. In a first of its kind groundbreaking analysis of pre and post pregnancy brain scans published in 2016, researchers found mothers lose gray matter during pregnancy, and these losses endure for at least 2 years. Do y'all co-sign that?
Oh, absolutely.
And
I'm still suffering from brain fog after the 3 of you.
Imagine me, I had 5.
All right, brain for days, right? Yeah. It's a real thing. Mm-hmm. It's a real thing. Your body. I mean, when people say, "Oh, you're glowing," yes, you're glowing.
But your body's going through.
Your body is going through
a roller coaster, really.
Yes, and of course, if you are carrying another life in you that's depending on you for nutrients, for growth and such, right? Mm-hmm. Could you imagine what it's taking from you?
Yes.
It takes a lot. Your calcium levels go down. Mm-hmm. Some women experience calcium loss after they've had children, Some women, they break their pelvic bone during birth.
Good thing you didn't push this one out. That hit.
So yes, brain, you lose brain matter. It comes back. It slowly comes back. Are you experiencing brain fog still?
Honestly, so much has been going on that I don't know if it's the pregnancy, if it was having COVID, if it's the move.
There's so much
exhaustion,
going
the
on.
sleep. There's so much going on that like I don't know. But I definitely have had my moments where I'm like, am I going crazy? And it's like, yeah, but you probably are. Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have experienced the same with COVID. So I know what it's like to give birth.
You're like, men always trying to relate. No, I'm kidding. Definitely. So Mother's Day, right? Why do you think this day exists?
Like the real reason?
No, like just to you, like why is this day in existence? Why is it important? Why do we have it? Why do we need it? Do we need it? Do we not need it?
It's just another man-made.
It's actually a woman.
It's not. It's. I would say that it is business. You know, the increase of sales and flowers go up, cards go up, the restaurants make more money. It's a part of the plan. You know, for me, someone spoke to me this morning. They said, so what did your children do for you for today? I said, well, I got my Mother's Day greeting, which I accept. I says, but it's not a big deal for me if I don't get the flowers and I don't get the cards, because I want that from them throughout the year. I want to hear, Mom, I love you.
It doesn't have to be just on Mother's Day.
That's right.
Yeah, you're a mother 24/7.
I want to get a card just because, you know, but, you know, we've been conditioned, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We've been conditioned. And it's been conditioned. And I guess it's the way society looks at, okay, let's celebrate mothers on one day, just like you celebrate Christmas. Right? So
Just give us a day.
Yeah. And it's okay because some mothers don't get any recognition.
So it's
Not even during the year.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because this morning I made Stephanie coffee and I brought it to her and I'm like, Happy Mother's Day. And I'm like, you know, for some people that's a big deal, but this is just our routine.
He always makes me coffee.
So I think it's kind of unfortunate that you have to wait until this man-made holiday to show appreciation for the people like your mother or your partner.
And it puts a lot of pressure on people too, because even though we just moved, so we've had a hectic couple of weeks, we've been spending a lot of money. Like he said, he treats me well all the time. He still, a couple of nights ago, was like, what do you want for Mother's Day? Like, do you want something? And I'm like, I don't need anything. Like, we're good. Like, this is, every day is, even though it sounds corny, like every day is Mother's Day, but like my life is so fulfilled that I don't need a day to like be acknowledged. But that being said, it's necessary for it to be on a grand scale, I feel. Like, I do like that the world kind of acknowledges us in a way, like that they commemorate a day. Like, I do value that in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It does. Because like I said, some women don't get the appreciation, but that one day, and I guess that's the way that society have basically instilled in folks, you know, let's show our appreciation on this day. But I have to say, good job, son. Good job. Yes, it makes me proud being your mom. You know, they always say, how did you raise your boys? So I raised my boys that if I had a daughter, I would want my daughter to marry them.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I raised them to
course.
be the husband that I would want my daughter to marry. So good job.
Good job, Simone.
Good job, Elizabeth. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, my mom told me not to take no shit, so he got no choice, right?
That's
baby?
right. That's right.
So speaking of that, I did want to go into and take a more deeper dive into the evolution of motherhood, right? Because y'all are mothers, but y'all are daughters, right?
Yes.
And your grandmothers. So there's generations of motherhood, and that in itself has a lot of differences, but also throughout time and the advancement of technology and the way the world has just shifted, your relationship with motherhood might have changed. So I wanted to start like in the beginning in terms of when you were, well, not when you were daughters, you are daughters, but growing up and your relationship to your mom. How do you think that relationship impacted your motherhood?
Well, my relationship with my mother, I'm the youngest out of 4 and the only girl.
Oh, were you spoiled?
I had more of a relationship with my dad and my maternal grandmother. I had a relationship with my mom, but it wasn't as affectionate as it was with my dad and my grandmother.
Got it. Your mom was a little tougher?
And she was always working.
Oh.
She was a workaholic. She was always, she had her own factory. She was always on the move.
Okay.
She was more out of home, and we was home with grandma.
Gotcha. So that's where you get your working bone from, because you work hard too.
Yes, I do. She always tried to work, and they both worked, to give us a better living, bring my grandmother over from Dominican Republic. I was born here, but I was sent there, and I didn't come back until I was like 7 when I came back with my grandmother and my siblings.
Oh, so you were raised those first 7 years pretty much by your grandma?
Yes, exactly.
That makes me think, because I lost your mom when I was really young. How did you feel about that, since you had such a close relationship with your grandma? Like, did you kind of feel like I wouldn't have that? Like, how did that impact you?
It affected me because I got to be with my grandmother, but you guys didn't. You guys were very young, so you didn't enjoy that.
Yeah. I always think about that. Like, when I see people with their grandmas, I'm like, I don't really know what that's like. Like, I feel like I was young, but I have like a random memory, like being in DR and like sweeping what do you call, like, como la galería? That's what they call it? Like
the front, the foyer area.
Yeah, of the house that with the metal gates on the windows. And like, for some reason, I also have a memory of like being in DR and sneaking Band-Aids. Like, I had like a pack of like, those Band-Aids that used to come in the metal can?
Yes.
And you used to put them all over.
For some reason, I remember that. Like, that's like one memory I have from DR. Like, hiding, like the adrenaline of like not getting caught with the Band-Aids. I don't know why I remember that. It's like the weirdest thing. So Ma, what about you? Your relationship with your mom?
Well, my mom has always been present in my life, but there was at one point where she left my sister and I. Well, I was born in Jamaica, but but my family migrated to Trinidad because my dad is from Trinidad. And we lived there from I was 2 years old. And then my mom and my dad came to the U.S. So we were left, I was 8 and my sister was 7. So for 2 years, I didn't see my mom. We weren't left with family. We were left with friends that she had developed a friendship with. Those 2 years were very rough for me. I was protective of my sister. When I came to the United States, I was extremely happy because I had my mom back in my life. But my mom is not the kissy huggy type of person. I guess because her parents' generation, it wasn't about affection. I resented her. I resented her for leaving my sister and I for 2 years, because when you're 8 years old, you don't understand some of the sacrifices that your parents...
And it's not unique, especially with immigrant parents.
Correct. So I thought that I was the only 8-year-old girl that their mom left them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's not like today where you have FaceTime and you're in constant communication.
So a letter would come with some money, actual money, and people would take care of us. My mom would send boxes over there with these beautiful clothes and jewelry, but still,
You want your mommy.
I wanted my mommy. And these people, it wasn't the worst treatment, but it wasn't the best.
Gotcha.
And while my mom left me, I was, I could speak about it. I was abused. And so an 8-year-old girl going through all of these traumatic experience, when I got here, I didn't act out. I actually pulled in to myself. So for me, I resented my mom. I didn't want to be like her. I I always went to the opposite end of the scope, not to be like her, not to talk like her, not to even embrace the culture, you know?
You just made me think, your sister has a much stronger accent than you do.
Yes.
And you think you were like pushing it away?
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. You will hear my accent more when I become very emotional or I'm angry.
Yeah.
Okay, but that was part of my coping skills with dealing with all the trauma and not wanting to be like my mom.
Mm-hmm.
As I got older, my mom is kick ass. You know what I'm saying?
You feel like when you got older, you got a new appreciation for her?
Absolutely, but it didn't happen right away. It happened for me.
Throughout the years, as
Yes.
you saw what you was growing up yourself, becoming that woman, you saw more or less why it happened or why it had to happen. Why did it have to go this way or it didn't go that way?
And give her some grace.
Absolutely, and understand the sacrifices that you make for your children, not making the sacrifices to put them in harm's way. But we live in a world that they're predators, and you can't always.
You don't know.
No, no. So it happened for me in my 40s. I really started to appreciate her. I really started to look at her. I got my sense of humor from her. I don't have a raunchy sense of humor, but I have a sense of humor. My mom is so raunchy with her sense of humor that this one here, when she asked about him, when is he coming to feel up my breast? Because when he see her, he squeezes her booty.
Wait, hold on. Hold on.
It's their thing.
Let me correct this for me.
It's their fun thing.
Hold on.
It's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. Because
It's a joke.
my grandmother, like, I'll hug her and then she'll like touch my penis and be like, you using your teely?
And about getting me pregnant, what she used to say?
Oh, you gotta bend over like so. And
So her sense of humor is like really raunchy, but I understand. And I have her, when I was younger, I had this like very bad temper, and she used to discipline me for it. But my mom has a temper.
Isn't it hard to admit when you act like your mom sometimes?
And the older I get, I'm starting to look more like my mom.
Sometimes I do things or say things, my mannerisms, my posture, I look like my mom, and I'm like, oh my God.
didn't you tell me growing up when you used to answer the phone, people would think?
Yep. We
All
have
the
the
time.
same voice on the phone, especially when I was younger. People
Oh
would
my
call
goodness.
and we'll have full blown venting sessions, thinking it was my mom. I'm like, you want to speak to my mom?
But that being said, I wouldn't trade her for the world, because having her in my life has made me strong to deal with certain things, to look at her and, like you said, give her some grace. She was a young mom. She was 15 and 16 as a mother. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
We make mistakes,
Definitely. I know having, like, for me especially, once I became a mom, it like helped me see things differently and kind of like take a step back and see things as like our moms do the best that they can with what they have at the moment, and not to take things so personally. Is there anything from your moms that you wanted to emulate? Like, my mom was like this and I appreciate it, and you kind of pass down to your kids in the way you raised your kids?
Her strength. My mom has a very strong, demanding personality. So I may not exhibit it in the same manner like her, but it's in me.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Oh.
My mom is going to be 82 this year, and she's showing the beginning signs of dementia. She has her good days, but she has her bad days. And I just, came to the realization, it's like this morning, I'm thinking about mothers and I'm reading passages and so forth. And I just got really emotional because I'm like, she's moving on, and eventually she's not going to be here with us. And I'm like, what is that going to look like? And it's not that I'm trying to bury her or want her demise any quicker, but it was more so for me, how am I going to deal with it as her adult daughter? You know, because I had some issues how I was navigating through her stage of life right now. And I had to hold myself accountable and just be there for her and just love on her now and just soak up everything that she can give me.
While she's here.
Yes. She's more loving and affectionate now. She'll tell me, come lay down next to her. And those are the things that I didn't have as a child, but she's given it to me as an adult because she knows that she has more years behind her than she does in front of her. So she wants me or any of my other siblings to feel that from her.
And
to
how
feel that
lucky
love.
to still have the opportunity to do it.
Absolutely.
Because some people don't have the chance.
No, so on her good days, when she's cognizant of her environment and she knows that we're there and stuff, and when she says, come sit next to me or hug me and kiss me, I embrace it, you know?
You okay,
I
Mom?
embrace it. Yeah. Yeah, because it's important, right?
Yes, it is.
It is. It's very, very important. Being a mom, you know, is, I think, one of the most precious gifts that God has given us.
Yeah.
And our mothers are a precious gift to us. Some of them are gone before our time.
Yes.
And some of them are with us, and then we have to see them transition through different stages, you know. And we just gotta be there and give them grace
That's all you can
for
do.
the amount of time that they've been here with us,
Yeah.
right? So with that being said, appreciate the good, the bad, and the indifference.
Yeah. So I know I like see you crying and I'm like crying now too, but I have a question. Is there anything you wish your mom did tell you before she passed, since, you know, you didn't have her?
Well, she was, like I said, she wasn't very affectionate because she was always doing her thing, but she always made sure that we was good, that we was provided for, that my grandmother was good. She always made sure my grandmother was good because she needed to make sure she was good for us to be good. You know? So I have that from her. You know, I'm a workaholic too.
Yes.
And I like my kids too. I love my kids. I love the way they've grown and how they want to prosper. You know, they don't want to stay behind. And that's great.
You know, we take a lot of things from our parents, whether it's earlier in life or later in life. You know, we take, and I always say, take the good. You know, forget about the BS. You know, just take the good parts and hold on to
And
it.
embrace it because
Yes.
you don't know how long.
Yes, and embrace it. You know,
I do know, Ma, like I always said, like, you workaholic, worked hard. We never like went without. We had everything we needed. You found a way. But I did sometimes lack like that lovey-dovey emotional part. But it's like you were just like your mom.
Exactly.
But I do feel like now, as a grandma, like I do see you softer. Like you know, you've like been broken down a little bit more with them.
we evolve.
Yeah.
You know, like you said in the beginning, the mothers that we were when we had our first child is not the mothers that we are today because we've had to evolve in every different stage of our children's lives.
That was a question I wanted to also ask. So you have a son that's almost 40 and then one that's 20, right? So that's a big difference.
Absolutely.
And you also have, I'm 32 and Jaylene is 20, right? Or 19. So there's a big difference there. Like, how has the way you approach motherhood evolved?
I used to get really frustrated. Now I have more patience, I could say. than before. So,
And what do you think happened that kind of caused that shift?
a lot of things. Losing my parents. It wasn't not only losing my mother because I lost both of them.
Both, yeah.
I had to look at life different.
Yeah.
What about you, Mom?
Yeah, there is a huge gap between Tony and Courtney. I was 18 when I had Tony, and being a young mom, the first couple of years I raised him like how my mom raised me, with the discipline, the spanking. When Travis came along, it was different because now I was more mature and more educated, and it was like, that don't work. I don't think I ever spanked you.
I don't recall.
No.
I know my older brother always has stories about mom and dad. I'm not saying he was abused,
no,
but he
only
definitely
got like one major spanking from me.
But he definitely, the hand wasn't foreign to him.
Correct.
And it's still foreign to me to this day. I don't know if
I still get it from here, and I'm kidding.
I don't know if I'm better or worse for it, but I just don't. It wasn't a part of my life.
No, I did more talking part of Tony's life into when Travis came along. More talking, more patience, more loving. Then came Courtney. For you, he's
13 years.
13 years? No, 14.
I'm 33.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
With Courtney, it was a lot more, definitely a lot more talking, because the time when I had Courtney to the time that I had Tony, time had changed. Now you had introduction to all these electrical devices. Cable television, so things change. I had to learn how to navigate through that with a young child wanting to be on the video games all the time. It was fun for them because they were doing, what was the first game you guys had, Travis?
Like Resident Evil, or you mean like way back, like Mario, Sonic?
Yes, Pac-Man, but with Courtney, it was full-blown video games and cable vision and all that stuff, So I had to learn how to navigate with him differently. So, the 18-year-old mom, the 20-year-old mom, and the 30-year-old mom, it's different.
Different, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a different stage. As the years go along, you're gonna change. You might be the way you are right now, but in 10 years, you might be different.
Yes.
You were talking about how your mom wasn't as, what's the word you use? Like nurturing or, and I feel like I got over nurtured, like I was under my mom's left boob. Like that was like the running joke.
Not nurturing, but I guess emotional.
Okay.
Right?
So, yeah, because nurturing, you were taking care of.
I was taken care of. But we didn't do like the I love yous and the give me a hug, give me a kiss.
So I was
you.
Well, I gave an overabundance of it. So they used to call Tony my brown pocketbook, and then he was my beige pocketbook. And then when Courtney came along, he was my cocoa pocketbook, because I guess I poured into them what I was missing. And sometimes you can go a little bit overboard with it. You know what I'm saying? They tease me, oh, you're a helicopter mom. I was not a helicopter mom. I just gave them a lot of love and affection.
Yeah.
And it was not only for them, it was for me too.
Yeah.
It made me feel good, that I can get a hug from my children unconditionally.
Yeah.
I think, in some ways I kind of envy you, because for me, there was, I had a lot of anger when it was time to separate from that.
To separate from
mom. All that emotions. Me and my mom, up until I was 18, we were under the same roof. And then, due to her going through a divorce, she was like in protection mode, which meant getting me out the house. And for me, that fucked me up because
You didn't feel ready.
I know I wasn't ready, and I had to get ready.
Yeah, I feel like I grew up so quick. Like when I was out the house, I knew how to handle myself in all aspects.
And I'm 33 and I'm still learning things, you know, and
You're welcome.
and for a long time, like, and you know, I know my mom could speak to this. There was like our relationship was just very weird. It was I don't know if estranged is the right word, but like
I think it was not as strange because and I hope you know that there was a lot of love. My intention was done out of love and wanting to make sure that you were safe. I can say today, and he and I have had this conversation, I could have done things differently. But when you're in a zone and you're trying to be protective, not only of your children, but of yourself, sometimes you don't make the best decisions, right? The best decisions. But it was
I
strange
stop
for
you there because that kind of makes it seem like you did something wrong. I feel like I look at it as you did the best you could with what you had and the choice. You made a tough decision, not the wrong decision. Does that make sense? Like if you had a better situation, you would do better.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that I made the best choice, right?
Yeah.
At that time. But was it the best choice for him?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, just like how I said earlier, I resented my mom for her decisions, but it's not until I got older and understood sacrifices
and had to make tough decisions.
That's right. And I think that's why Travis and I are where we're at now, because he's now an adult. He's a father to two beautiful children. He understands the tough decisions that you sometimes have to make. And it's not with any bad intentions. It's the choices that we make. So I think with him growing up and he and I working through it and talking and me being as transparent as I possibly can with him and also apologizing to him, right? Because I'm not going to minimize how he felt what regards to what I did, but does he understand it better now?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can he respect it now? Absolutely. Did he suffer emotionally because of it? Yes, he did. But he is he's pushed beyond that now, and we are in a good space. Because if we wasn't, he wouldn't be living next door.
Right?
Absolutely.
He moved close to his mama.
Yeah. So really quick on the question about evolution. I'm currently having a lot of guilt because even with Eli and River, they're almost 8 years apart. And I sometimes feel like River's gonna have a slightly better beginning to life than Eli did. And it hurts me. Like I feel so guilty.
Yeah, but that you shouldn't feel guilty because that was not your choice. That was the situation and the circumstances you were in at the moment.
Yes, it's exactly what you've been preaching.
You're evolving. Like we're saying, you're evolving. You're not the same mother you were when you had Eli. You
and I
understand
get that, but then I find myself trying to compensate for it. Like, how could I help them be balanced in terms of what they get from me?
You can't. So my wife, Lori, when she came into Courtney's life, Courtney was 9 going on 10. And one of the conversations she had with me, because I was overcompensating because what took place with Travis. So she noticed that I was raising him with guilt. So everything I did, that was in the forefront. I don't want him to feel what Travis felt. I want him to, because again, I went through a divorce, right? So I didn't want him to feel the effects of that. So I raised him with the guilt. And one day she said to me, she said, you can't raise him with guilt. You cannot do that to him because you're only going to handicap him. And he's going to see a difference between how you raise him and how you raise your brothers. And children, let me tell you, they go to the path of the least resistant. Okay? Meaning if he sees that you are doing certain things and letting him get away with certain things because you feel guilty because of the opportunity now that you can give not only River,
Yeah.
him as well.
Yeah.
Because he's benefiting from your evolution as a couple.
Yes.
You understand? When River gets to be a certain age and he understands, you're going to raise him accordingly to what you and Travis have an understanding. And I asked you this question earlier. Who is the disciplinarian in the relationship?
Who do you think is the disciplinarian?
I think I've kind of fallen into the role. Like I'm almost used as a threat.
Which me and your mom had a conversation about that.
I'm not a fan of it, just because I don't. I know.
But again, as a threat, we don't physically discipline Eli ever. So I feel like you're more so, he respects you so much that he, like if I'm like, you don't want daddy to hear about this, it's kind of like,
Yeah, he'll be like,
oh yeah, I don't want him to know.
But it's
so
also-
it's not like he fears you in the sense like, you know what I mean?
to me, it's more respect.
Yeah, but I don't even want that slight fear because I know what it's like to fear someone, and I don't want him to feel what I felt, and I don't want him to feel like he has to like, tippy toe around me. I want him to be expressive but respectful. Like there's a balance, and I just know there were times in my life where I just, wouldn't even want to make the floor creak a certain set away. So I don't want him to feel that way. And I know that's not your intent when you say I'm going to tell daddy, but I think maybe we should find another way.
Yeah. So yeah, when mom asked me this question about like the discipline, I said, we're kind of learning together.
Yeah.
Like we kind of go with emotions and then we discuss it after. Like maybe that wasn't the best way to handle that. Or how could we handle this differently
And
next
that's okay
time?
because I don't care what anyone says. There is no brochure, guide, dictionary, YouTube, Google. It's just not there because now how you address certain situations may be the same, but every child is unique. The behavior might not be unique, and how you process dealing with that child because of the bad behavior, the good behavior. It's different. You guys gotta figure out which the best route to take, right?
And now you have two that they're gonna have different personalities, different needs. You don't know what works for one might not work for the other.
Yeah. And I have to remember that because I feel like I'm always trying to, like, for example, if I get River something, I'm like, I gotta get Eli something, like, and this like tit for tat, it has to be so equal, but I know it's my own shit. I need to not be that way.
Please don't be like the parents that they're celebrating the birthday of one child, but they give the other child a gift because you don't want the other child to feel left out.
I don't want to be that.
Yeah, no,
I don't
don't
want
do
to
that
be
either.
that parent. I will say that one thing that we do different, like since I'm an educator and I have a degree in education, there are certain things that I'll bring up because of developmental appropriateness, right? So even just now with Eli, what just happened, he was like, oh, just read a book for now. I'm like, he's 8. He's going to interrupt us. He needs his iPad at this moment if we want him to stay focused for 30 minutes without interrupting us. Like little things like that.
But I looked at the interaction. He did not push back on it. He went and he got the tablet and he gave it to Eli because, so for me, that's both of you guys working together.
And communicating.
Yes.
Communication is important.
Yeah, and I only interject if it's necessary. Like I let him father the way he wants to father, and he lets me mother the way I want to mother. But then sometimes when I notice like something I'm working on as a mom, I don't want to yell as much as I yell. Like I'm very reactive with my tone. So sometimes I'll tell Travis like, it's okay for you to call me out. Like you can tell me like, you didn't have to yell at him for that.
I've been getting better at it.
Because he just won't say anything. And I'm like, I need help too. Like, it's a team
you
effort.
got to help each other.
Yeah.
One thing I know that you call me out a lot on is like if Eli says why, and I'll say because I said so, and it's so like basically like you can explain to him.
Yeah, I'm like, it's okay to tell him why. Like he maybe doesn't understand.
So I'm guilty for that because that's what I used to say to them, right?
Yeah.
So he picked that up from me. Okay.
And I get that. And, you know, and think about it, working moms, you don't got time for your kids every single why. And trust me, sometimes it's because I said so in this moment.
Exactly.
But there are other times where we could have a conversation because it's a teaching moment, you know? We talk about what we teach our kids, and sometimes we think it has to be so explicit, like a lesson, you sit with a book. But just in conversation and everyday life, we could teach our kids so much.
Absolutely.
So answering some of those questions is an easy way to get a lesson in a day.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, let me see. So we talked about our experiences with motherhood, and we some of us mentioned things we did differently. Mom, I want to ask you, is there anything you wish you did differently?
Oh God. I used to be an angry woman, always yelling and screaming and do this and do that. If I would have toned it down a little bit, I wish I could have toned it down back then. I was young, you know, had a lot of young all together running around. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't have my mother. I didn't have no help. It was me. My brother Pablito, he was always there helping me. But that's about it. I think that the yelling and stuff would have changed.
Steph tells me a lot of the times it was due to like, you would come home and almost like the Terminator, like examine, like, is that clean? Is that clean?
Yeah. And I used to be so like I feared you in that sense of like, I wanted, when you came home, I wanted so badly to take your stress away. Like that you could come home and not be upset. Like I had a lot of pressure with that and a lot of resentment. But as I got older, it's like, imagine working all day. Then you come home and you got grown ass kids who are capable and aren't doing shit. Like I get it. Like you said, could it have been handled with a different tone, a different way? But it's like, if it wasn't modeled for you, how would you know that?
Yeah.
You know, and you didn't have the time to like figure that out because you were so busy like taking care of us. If that makes sense. What do you notice about us as parents that has trickled down, or what are you proud of that's different that we do?
For me is the love that Travis shows his children. You know, the love he shows you. You know, so even though I may have been overindulgence with how I love them, it trickled down to him, you know, because I'm pretty sure y'all shared story. He was adamant, I'm not having no children. I don't want any children. He was telling me, when you have children, you can't be selfish. And right now in my life, I am selfish, so I can't have any children.
I used to say that too sometimes. Not ever, but like I was like, in this moment, I want to live.
No, yes. So for me to see the love that he has for his children, and you know how responsible he is and how unselfish he is, you know, because for me, I was always giving. My house was always full.
Yeah.
My family, them, friends and stuff. So I'm very proud that some of that has instilled in him, you know. So
my mom, I always tell Travis, like, our house was like where everybody wanted to be.
Yep. My house was always, it was like a open door policy.
And so giving. And I always said, like, we never grew up with a lot of money, but it just felt like we had so much, in the sense of like, if my friends came over, my mom never made a face about us going in the fridge, eating whatever was there. Like,
I see a lot of that in both of you. Like, I think that one of the biggest reasons that I gravitate to you so much is because, similar to my mom, is like, you'll give the shirt off your back to someone you care about.
Her friends used to come and stuff. I would never do that, because I don't know what situations they were going through or living. Maybe they couldn't go and open the fridge and get something, you know. So it was okay.
I was cooking for the neighborhood.
I used to cook for all of them too.
Yes, girl. Oh my gosh. And they used to just ring the doorbell early in the morning. Courtney didn't have that. So he'll listen to the stories that Travis and Tony had, because even though they're 6 years apart, you know.
They had a more similar upbringing.
Correct. With Courtney now, he grew up like the only child. Yeah. And we moved to New Jersey. He didn't have that much many friends. And his friends, even though they went to the same high school, they lived distance from each other, right? So it's not like his friend right here and they can come over, you know. So he didn't get that experience of the Friday or the Saturday full house experience. So he'll listen to it, and I'll see him like smirking, like, okay.
And times have changed, because we were even talking about with Eli. He didn't have kids in our building in the Bronx, and he didn't play outside in front of the building. Where I knew all the kids in my building. We played outside. I was scraping on my knees on the concrete. It's
in today's world, you got to do what? Play date.
Yeah, you got to schedule a play date with someone. Yeah,
you know, I'm like, wow, you know, but yeah.
But you guys are good. I like the structure. You guys have a routine with Eli. You know, he knows his routine himself. He already knows what he needs to do.
We got to remind him sometimes.
No, but, you know, he's only 8. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to remind myself. I remember maybe like a year or two ago, I had this realization. I don't know how, but I was looking at old pictures of Eli and seeing how quickly he's growing. And then I'm like, you know what? When he was 4 and 5, we had unrealistic expectations of him. Like, we thought he was so big. And now look at this little baby that we would get upset if he didn't know X, Y, and Z. Like, we got to give him so much grace as a kid and let him be a kid.
Let him be a kid.
And so now, like, sometimes I'm like, he's 8. He's not going to get that. His impulses are not going to allow him to do. And by nature, he has a lot of energy and is very curious. So he asks a lot of questions and he talks a lot. And I don't want to take that away from him. That curiosity could be a gift. It is a gift, you know, and I don't want to make him feel like he can't talk. He can't ask questions, you know?
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
It's an honor to be here. I feel very special.
Thank you for the invite.
Yes. Conversation was really, really good. It's everything I expected. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for coming. We were like nervous. Honestly, Mom.
Yes.
I was like, I don't think my mom's going to want to do this. I was like, she's going to be too shy with the camera and everything. So thank you.
I'm developing.
I'm like, Ma 10 years ago would have been like, this is too emotional. I ain't doing this stuff. No. So
I have to move forward with the program.
Right. And this was very therapeutic, you know, and able to be able to sit here and talk about you guys growing up, your experiences. I always say the good.
Hours.
Yes. I always say the good, bad, and the indifferent. Right. So for me, this was a really, really good experience. Yeah. And I appreciate it.
And I hope it opens up more conversations, Mom, because I have a lot of things I want to ask you and talk about, if you're okay with it.
I'm fine.
I just want to say, you know, to all of you, happy Mother's Day. To my mother-in-law for birthing my partner. And, you know, I couldn't imagine my life without Stephanie in it. So I'm always going to be appreciative of you for bringing her into this world.
And a lot of who I am is because of you. Like, it is. Despite, like, you know, growing up, I feel like I always wished for different things, but I know, like, the best parts of me come from, like, my upbringing, you know? Like, I'm so strong and independent and I could take care of my home, and I know that's all from you. So I appreciate you.
And to my mother, happy Mother's Day. Like I said, you know, we've had our ups and downs, but I'm so happy with where we are now.
Absolutely.
You know, jokingly, you know, the universe is funny. Like, I literally live a couple feet away from you now. And it feels, I feel like a kid again, you know? You know, we've been through a lot, and I'm very happy of where we are now.
Absolutely.
And there's no ill feelings towards you for any of our, you know, it's just been life experiences. And, you know, I'm happy. I'm so happy of where we are right now. And I'm so happy that I could just run across some grass to be with you.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Thank you for everything you've done, everything you've sacrificed, everything you've had to experience for us to get to this point. It means a lot to me. And, you know, we have many years ahead of us.
Absolutely.
So, you know, let's just keep on building on this strong foundation.
And I thank you for not condemning me, but embracing me and respecting my choices. That's important as a parent.
Of course.
That your children, you know, still love you. And
are still willing to stand by you.
Yeah, so that's what you have shown me. You've never been disrespectful. None of my children.
I went through a disrespectful phase.
Oh, yes, she did.
She did? You did had the chancleta papa? Oh. Yeah.
I went through my phase.
Yeah, so I thank you.
And she's grown a lot in tone, and Travis has a lot to do with it, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And the thing is, you know, she never took shit from nobody. That's one of her things. So
I embrace my adult son. I embrace his beautiful wife. He has gifted me with a daughter, and I thank you. It's okay to share, right?
of course.
You know, I have my sons have given me 2 beautiful daughters because I have no daughters. You know, so I'm blessed.
Hopefully they give you a granddaughter.
Yeah, and I want them to call her Simone. We could do it, Simone Elizabeth. Hello.
I'm dead.
And to my wife, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
You know, I hope that I could always make you feel like every day is Mother's Day, because I'm so appreciative of what you provide to my life. And I don't want it to just be one day out the year or your birthday or Valentine's Day that you feel special, because your happiness is so necessary to me being able to function in this world. Yeah. And, you know, you mean the world to me. So, you know, if there's anything I ever need to sharpen on, please feel free to call me out, because you're...
I will.
Listen, you're doing a great job.
Yes, you are.
The only complaint I hear is that you don't like to keep cash in your wallet.
He's been doing better.
I love it.
I love you more.
Are we wrapping up? So when we have guests, we always like to ask, do you still like us?
Yes.
We love you.
Yes,
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
We know y'all love us.
You have to love your children, but do you like
like
them?
us?
Yes. Yes. We like you. Yes.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.